The SEC has been taken over by portal madness. It's almost coming to a close. We're going to talk all about it. Time to get the squad together.
You're talking ball with the SEC squad. From Alabama to Tennessee, from Georgia to Oklahoma, from Auburn to Texas, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming SEC weekend. It's the SEC squad, and we have a seat for you. Hurt feelings and thin skin are prohibited. Squad up, you're part of the SEC squad.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into the SEC squad. Sit back, grab your favorite beverage as we get ready to talk another week, all things SEC. Our first kind of like off-season edition where we don't really have games to preview because, well, there's one game left. It's the national championship, but it's going to be Miami versus Indiana. Let's welcome in our squad. By the way, today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use our code LOCKEDONCollege, get $20 off your first purchase. We got Stephen Willis from Locked On Ole Miss, Eric Kane from Locked On Vols, John Miller from Locked On Mizzou, Chris Marler from Locked On Gamecocks, and I'm Chris Cordy, Locked On SEC. Gentlemen, yeah, this feels weird with no games to discuss. Steven, you want to give the end of the season diatribe for Ole Miss?
Listen, it was an unbelievable playoff run. I had an unbelievable time following it. I know that it ended in a very weird way with losing the game in the last 19 seconds. There is literally nothing I can be mad about after that run. So let's get ready for Trinidad Chambliss to be the quarterback in 2026, and let's go.
So you feel good that Chambliss is going to get the waiver, even though he's been denied multiple times?
Yes, because they're going to deny the appeal for the NCAA, and then they are going to lawyer up, and they're going to Diego Pavia this, and he's going to get the injunction.
I guess with the precedent already set with Pavia, is that why you're confident here, or?
I'm confident because Tom Mars is on the case, and he is basically like the NCAA villain. And if it was normal lawyers, I wouldn't worry, but that guy is superhuman and getting his way with the NCAA.
And what's his case? His case is simply just to get another year of eligibility. It's not anything JUCO related, right?
No. It's a medical red shirt that, because he was Division II, doesn't get filed the same way as Division I, as well as the reporting differences between D2 and D1.
Yeah,
and all of that.
I can speak in terms of the differences in D1 and D2, at least for baseball. I mean, Tennessee had a baseball player last year that was eligible to play for Tampa in Division II, but somehow wasn't eligible to play for Tennessee in Division I. It made no sense. So there is difference, like going from one level to the next level. There's a lot of differences there. So it's weird stuff. So
the only difference I would say, one, as a former Georgia College State University Bobcat, Tampa was our biggest rival. Had to start out every single season with them. We'll get into the stats later, Eric, off air. I know we like to talk about that.
OPS plus. Totally.
No, but the thing with the Tampa situation too is that was a kid that was at Tampa in like mid-January and then transferred to Tennessee before the start of the season, which is still, I agree with you. I think the NCAA, it's like, what are you gaining from saying they can't play? And I think the Pavia situation is a little bit even more ridiculous because, I mean, that was a guy that has been in college since like the Reagan administration. And there's a lot of other players, especially in this past COVID era, that have been the same. So I hope Trinidad gets it, to be honest. I don't know. It's all over tonsils, right, Stephen? Like it's literally over tonsils.
It's over chronic tonsillitis, adenoiditis, and something to do with mono in the fall of the season. There's an email that was uncovered by Tom Mars, by the head coach at Ferris State, saying he had severe medical issues during that year. And the NCAA is claiming that there was no documentation that he had issues with that. So it's going to be a court fight. It seems like it's going to get ugly, and I would probably put my money on Tom Mars to get this done.
What about timeline, though? That would be my question. Sometimes the gears of justice can grind a little bit slowly. How fast do you think this is going to be resolved?
They'll deny the injunction requested first, and you have to go back to. You have to do this 2 or 3 different times.
Right.
Yeah, as long as it gets done by this summer, it'll be fine. Because honestly, if we're going to talk about it, Deuce Knight going through spring as the number 1 quarterback for Ole Miss would not be the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, that was the big deal, them getting Deuce Knight, because look, at worst case, I think expectations change, right? If Trinidad is the guy, I think a 10-2 season is in play for Ole Miss. If it's Knight, I think maybe you're more 8-3, 8-4, 9-3, but who knows? So
if Trinidad's there, Ole Miss is a top 5 team going into the regular season. If he's not there, Ole Miss is not, and there's no way to get around that. They're going to be good because they have a talented team, but we all saw what Trinidad Chambliss, once he starts rolling, how that looks. Deuce Knight, though extremely talented, he still is just played Mercer essentially as a starting quarterback. So, for instance, September 19th would look mighty different if Trinidad Chambliss is calling the shot versus Deuce Knight.
Plus,
when you see the different confidence level,
any success with a backup quarterback, you know what I mean? It's like, my bad, Eric. I cut you off for that really bad joke.
It was very bad, so set this one out for 10 seconds. I was going to say the difference in confidence levels, like Steven, Ole Miss fans are like, yeah, man, just roll with Deuce, QB1 in spring. Trinidad's coming back, going to be QB1 by summer. It's going to be great. Yeah, there's all the confidence in the world, where Tennessee's holding out a little bit of hope that Joey Aguilar is going to be cleared to come back, but just nobody thinks that's going to happen. So it's like, yeah, there could be a situation in March or April or May or whenever this thing's finally resolved that it's like, oh, heck yeah, Joey Aguilar is cleared, but nobody thinks that's ever going to happen. So
now Aguilar is more that's the JUCO thing. Like
Aguilar is with the Diego Pavia lawsuit with the JUCO thing. They're fighting antitrust, saying that this is a violation of antitrust. They can't make NIL right now because those JUCO years were taken away from them. So he's also like 25, 26. It's been a long time. I don't even know if Joey Aguilar really wants to play football anymore, but being able to come back and win games and make $1 million plus, I would assume that's motivation for anybody. So,
yeah. Well, go ahead, Steven.
Oh, and Chambliss has $6 million on the table if he gets the injunction. I mean, there are real damages for him not getting the injunction. So the NCAA better have this locked up pretty tight.
There have been multiple. I've seen. It's funny you mentioned the fan bases. I've seen all the Ole Miss fans like, we're getting Trinidad and everything's gonna be good. The other SEC fan bases I've seen responding, at least on social media, have been, dude, go pro. What are you're like, you're the top of your game right now. Like, finish. You're done with college. Go. So it's just funny, kind of the dynamic of the different fan bases out there.
Certainly 5 years ago, he would have gone pro. That's what's interesting. I mean, for $6 million, that's, first top 10 in the draft kind of money. So that just changes the calculus completely, obviously.
Yeah. So real quick, Eric, because we saw they were in on Sam Leavitt, till the final hour, until he signed with LSU. So Tennessee, I mean, is it going to be George McIntyre and Faison Brandon, the two big recruits from the last 2 years that they've signed? But it just feels like that would be a first because they've leaned on experienced guys so much under Heupel.
Yeah, outside of Nico Iamaleava, who was, obviously brought in, the plan was for him to start in year number 2. It's been somebody different. It's been an old guy, Hendon Hooker, Joe Milton, Joey Aguilar. Of course, Aguilar wasn't playing. We'll see what happens, man. I mean, if I think Tennessee's done a really nice job rebounding in the portal. Slow start. I know you made the joke before we went on air, Penn State South or whatever, which is true. But I think some big time additions to help accelerate that defense under Jim Knowles and his Anthony Poindexter in the secondary, and there's a Penn State defensive line coach to help Rodney Gardner. There's an impact player from Penn State at every level with a coach. I think that's big. I think Tennessee's done a good job, but nobody cares about any of that right now. It's all about the quarterback. And so why did you only bring 2 quarterbacks to campus for a visit? When Sam Leavitt officially told you were out, why did you not go all in on Bo Prabula? It's almost like Tennessee kind of just let Bo Prabula go, which I'm not saying he's going to win the Heisman, but I'd take Bo Prabula. I mean, that's just, I don't know. Is Bo Prabula worth, at his dollar amount, is it worth it? Whereas you could go and find somebody else at a lower level, significantly cheaper, and come in and maybe, I don't know. I'm not a coach. I've not understood the quarterback thought process for Tennessee in this transfer portal. They should have brought in a whole lot more guys.
I have a dumb question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Is Faison Brandon there?
Yeah. Well, he just played in a bowl game, but yeah, he's signed. He's on campus.
He's the number 1 player in the country in some services, right? And we're
number 2.
Yeah. So why? I feel like that's probably something that should be getting a little bit of a confidence boost there up in Knoxville. I mean, that's I know it's a true freshman, and everything you also said is a really, really good point that isn't talked about that much about every single dude. It feels like in Heupel's offense have been a guy that's been there for a while, or at least like starting with Hooker, Joe Milton was like 25. It seemed like. I mean, so that makes sense. But I mean, it's not like you're like devoid of talent.
No doubt. I mean, I think everybody's excited about Faison. I think George McIntyre's got a whole lot of talent. It's just it's the era we're in. It's the transfer portal. It's LSU going and getting Sam Leavitt. It's Lane Kiffin coming to McGee Tyson Airport in Knoxville, Tennessee, and making a last effort pitch to get him. Like, it's just attractiveness to where you can go get a proven guy to come on your roster, specifically a quarterback to help you. I mean, youth and inexperience makes you nervous, even though you got a lot of those guys that are super talented. So, Heupel's confident there, I think, but, what if that doesn't go right? Like, you can't turn to anybody else. I mean, they're going to bring in another quarterback no matter what.
True. Because
they have to. They have to have 3 scholarship quarterbacks. It's just now it's to a point to where, okay, are they going to get somebody to walk into the portal for them? Are they going to go FCS route? I'm going to be intrigued to see.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting. You were talking about Bo Prabula, of course, Missouri starter last season. I think one of the reasons maybe that didn't work out for 2026 was price. And I think maybe Prabula's price was maybe not quite matching the rest of the market until, for whatever reason, him and Virginia came together, because he had been kind of traversing the country, went to Washington for a visit reportedly recently. My point here is what I'm interested in. At some point, there's going to be an SEC team that decides, you know what? The heck with the quarterback position. We're going to go cheap. We're going to be like an NFL team that drafted somebody in the first round, and we're going to try to win on that rookie contract. I actually think Tennessee is the type of program that can try that can maybe go a little bit cheaper at the quarterback position. Maybe just go with a guy like Faison that's already on the roster, spend elsewhere, juice up that offensive line, the receivers, the skill positions, obviously the pass rush, whatever it might be. I think there's a real opportunity there, because obviously there's not an actual real salary cap here, but of course in reality you run out of other people's money eventually, so you got to spend, you got to make your choices, is my point. So I think there's got to be an SEC team here that zigs a little bit while everybody else is zagging and spending $3, $4, $5, $6 million on a quarterback.
Well, Tennessee's going to have about $4 to $5 million they didn't spend on Sam Leavitt. So I mean, just go out there.
Guy giving love to Tennessee. I like to see that, John. Eric, real quick while we got you, Braylon Staley re-signed with the Vols the other night, so that's good to have the SEC Freshman of the Year back in the fold with whoever's throwing him the football. But two, we're going to get to a little bit later in the show. Why don't you give us what portal edition excites you most for Tennessee so far?
I mean, Chaz Coleman's really interesting. He didn't do an awful lot as a true freshman at Penn State, but I mean, he's got the size. He is so long. He is so athletic. Tennessee beat out Lane Kiffin. Shane Beamer came in there late, South Carolina. Ohio State was in there the entire time. So some really good teams. I just think that the high upside, the potential there. And I mean, Jim knows all about him, made him priority number 1 on the defensive side of the football when he got to Tennessee. So that one intrigues me. And then also an under the radar one, Jordan Newman from Tulane. Really like him on the edge. I think that he fits the Jim Knowles, what you look for in an edge player to a T.
6 sacks last year.
Yeah, 6 sacks, 8.5 TFLs, career highs, and an experienced player, 2 years of eligibility. So those 2 edge players on defense get me pumped up.
All right. Well, we will get into the rest of our roundtable. We'll talk which portal move you like most. We'll also dive in a little bit more into the SEC quarterback situation and kind of give you what we know here in early January as the squad rolls on here in just a second. Hey, first, I want to remind you guys about our friends over at Game Time. There's nothing like college football season, from the tailgates, packed stadiums, being right there in the middle of it all. And it's not just football. They got basketball up there as well. And Game Time, they give the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to unlock amazing college tickets and experiences in just a few taps. You open the Game Time app, you look at the upcoming games, you're going to be surprised at how fast it is to find great seats. The app is incredibly easy to use. You'll go from browsing to buying tickets in just minutes. You'll love being able to see the view from your seat. Don't be like Marler, who bought those tickets once where he had the big pole in front of him. Game Time will show you the view from the seat, and you'll know prices include all fees up front, making the whole process stress-free. Go take the guesswork out of buying college tickets for Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use our code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that is code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. All right, fellas, we dive back into it with our SEC squad, and I put together this graphic a couple days ago on Locked On SEC. Wanted to throw it up for you. A very early look at the projected quarterbacks in 2026, and here's how I kind of divvy them up. We know the returning starters, right? Arch Manning, Marcel Reed, Lenore Sellers. Those are the three biggies. I put Gunnar Stockton and John Mateer in here as of this recording. They have not made an official announcement, but I think it's kind of understood. Gunnar Stockton is going to be back at Georgia, and John Mateer is going to be back at Oklahoma. Then I have the category of incumbent starters, guys who were there, who are going to, played a little bit, going to take over. Arkansas with KJ Jackson, Mississippi State, Kamario Taylor. Alabama will be a battle between Austin Mack and Keelan Russell. And then Florida will be a battle between Aaron Philo and Tramel Jones. Then you have the new faces who are experienced starters with LSU with Sam Leavitt, Auburn with Byron Brown, Missouri with Austin Simmons, Kentucky with Kenny Minchie, and then the waiting on the rulings, right? We have Ole Miss is either going to be Trinidad Chambliss or Deuce Knight, and then Tennessee, as we talked about with Eric, either going to be Joey Aguilar or George McIntyre, Faison Brandon. And then lastly is Vanderbilt, who we kind of say, are they just going to go young and start Jared Curtis? It seems like they are. So kind of taking that early look, guys, what kind of stands out to you most?
Well, I just think it's kind of wide open again. I think it's unpredictable, just like I said, 2025, even though, well, we got to a predictable finish, I guess, with Georgia and Alabama. I still feel like it's just each and every year here we have this much action, especially in the portal, especially with, well, a bunch of, for the most part, unproven coaches outside of Kirby Smart. I think this is what you're going to get. Sorry for cutting you off there, Steven.
Yeah, I think Lenore Sellers was built in the lab for Kendall Briles. All of the stuff that we've talked about Lenore Sellers for 2 years of what he was going to be, now is the point where you're probably going to see that. I've seen that system get installed with Jeff Lebby at Ole Miss. I saw how it looked with Matt Corral. I think that is the situation that has me the most intrigued outside of Ole Miss.
And we forget how good KJ Jefferson was at Arkansas. I mean, he was awesome those years under Briles. Go ahead, Marta.
But here's my question, Steven. More than anything, I don't care if he can throw it for 4,000 yards. I don't care about any of that. If it's first and goal from the 1 or 2 yard line, are they going to finally run Lenore Sellers? Because Mike Shula did not seem to understand that was even an option this past year. So that I'm with you. I'm very excited about that. I think one of the things too that'll be most interesting in terms of like the Sellers, where he could end up. I talked to Clark Brooks today from On3, the guy who does all. We talked about this off air, right? The guy who does all the evals and rankings like that for the portal. And he said that with Stewart and Lenore Sellers, both of those guys have been rated 5 stars. There's like 2,980 players in the portal. There's only 2 5 stars. So the ability of South Carolina to be able to retain talent, especially at that position, I'm really excited to see what he looks like with an OC that seems competent and knows how to do it. And then also the other point too, hopefully for more than just half the season, because even the year that he was so great 2 years ago, when they read off those 6 straight wins, half the season they were terrible. Steven, I know you remember the Ole Miss game. I mean, that was like a night and day offense from that game to later on in the year. So I'm obviously very excited for Sellers too. I think that other one, that Alabama QB battle with Austin, I was surprised that both of them came back because Keelan Russell, it seems like he's going to be I would assume the guy that is given the keys to the car. But Austin Mack did look good for what it's worth in that Rose Bowl debacle. I mean, he was okay.
Yeah. Should be interesting. I will say this about Sellers. Inside the 5 yard line, he's going to see quarterback power in his dreams. He's going to run it so much.
Thank God.
Just a sneak too. Anybody who's 6'4" or whatever. But yeah, I'm with Marler. I thought Sellers looked so good at the end of the second half of 2024. I just feel like it almost became a meme that the Shula can't call a play meme. But I think sometimes the conventional wisdom is true. I just think coaching means so much in this sport. I could see a huge season from Lenore Sellers in 2026.
And let me add, they added so far 6 O-linemen up front to help protect, led by Jacarrius Peak, the big-time tackle from NC State. They also added some wide receiver help, Nitro Tuggle, the former Georgia guy who was at Purdue. And then is it Jaden Gibson? I get my Gibsons mixed up. Jaden Gibson from OU. They added a couple running backs as well. There's talk that they're interested in the Texas freshman from last year, Christian Clark, as well. So I like it. It feels like Beamer kind of drug his feet a couple times the last few years on like maybe not making the huge splashes in the portal, but feels like they've had an interesting approach to the portal this year. And so I kind of like it.
Getting Peak also, like there's a couple of, I feel like a couple of SEC teams that got gutted at certain position units. Like it feels like Oklahoma lost 1,000 players in the secondary. And every single person that left Oklahoma all went to an SEC school, it also seems like. But LSU, Alabama, South Carolina, their offensive lines were all gutted. Texas, with their running back room, that's a complete turnover. But for South Carolina to go up against Alabama, one, with it being Alabama, them having deeper pockets, but also having as much of a need at that position unit and being able to get that left tackle, I think that's what volumes. I thought that was a huge pickup.
What did you guys make of the other returning starters with Arch, Marcel Reed, Stockton, Mateer? I mean, look, Arch is going to get all the preseason Heisman love, and now he's got Cam Coleman to throw the ball to. But is it Arch? Like, if you had to pick one, you think it could be the Heisman winner? Is it Arch Manning?
Trinidad, right?
What an insult to Trinidad.
Well, I don't have him in the. I have him in the waiting on the rule, right? I mean, I guess you're right.
Can I say I think there's a non-zero chance that John Mateer breaks out next year? I just feel like he's a guy with plenty of talent who it's almost like the old cliche about like, hey, I'd rather have a horse that runs too fast that I have to rein in versus one that I have to kick in the butt to get going. I feel like that's John Mateer a little bit. If you just rein in some of his aggression a little bit, he's just a guy who needs more experience. I'm just saying I could see a world in which he's first team All-American, that type of deal.
Yeah, that horse has to still throw the football.
You know, it is tough to throw the ball when you're a horse. Maybe not my best analogy.
I know Kamario Taylor got hurt in their bowl game and everything, but there's also a non-zero chance that he is one of the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the entire SEC next year if he can get his passing game right. I mean, he still has some developing to do, but he is a freak running the football.
Yeah. He's bigger than people realize too. He's like, he's not just like, he's a great athlete, but he's also very, very thick in comparison to what I originally thought.
I'll tell you guys too, Mississippi State's been sneaky good in the portal. Like, they're not signing the big 5-star flashy names, but it's guys you go, oh, okay, like they're adding depth, some guys with experience. So I kind of like what Jeff Lebby's done there.
And on the lines, where they needed to do. Yeah.
Real quick with Oklahoma for John Mateer, they added Mackenzie Allen, the wide receiver from Washington State, who has familiarity with the OC from his time there, and Mateer from his time at Washington State. Trell Harris from Virginia, who everybody was very high on. And then the Parker Livingston factor, which is really funny, that Texas basically shunned him because they were trying to get Cam Coleman, and then he goes to Oklahoma. If there's any guy who's going to play with a chip on his shoulder, it's going to be Parker Livingston. Yeah. So I like that whole storyline as well. Anyway.
I disagree.
Rolling over his grave there.
No, the one team that we're not talking about at all, I know we're talking about quarterbacks, but like, is anyone going to talk about how good of a job Kentucky's done?
Oh, my goodness.
That has been awesome to watch. If one, and we don't need to get into this necessarily, I don't know where that money's coming from because they have self-admittedly spent $22 million in the basketball roster. But with football, it's like they have brought in a ton of talent. They brought in a ton of SEC talent. So I look at them and also like what Mississippi State's done, but especially Kentucky. Kentucky's sitting up there. I want to say it's right behind Ole Miss in the portal rankings on 247 Sports.
Sixth as of right now. Of course, that could change by the time this comes out. But
if I was Mark Pope, I would be very nervous by seeing that.
It is funny.
That is a lot of money to spend on that kind of mediocrity.
It is funny, though. Mark Stoops, kind of his buyout, he said, yeah, you guys can spread this thing out and kick the can down the road. So maybe they're like, well, let's go spend some of this money on portal guys. But yeah, they go get Lance Hurd, the offensive tackle from Tennessee. I'm trying to look at some of the other big names. Javante Barnes, running back from Oklahoma.
CJ Baxter.
Baxter. They got Kenny Minchie, of course, from Notre Dame. Jordan Castell from Florida. So, I mean, they've gotten a lot of experienced guys. Also, wasn't Lennon wasn't he kind of like the 6th lineman for Alabama last year?
I don't believe so, but maybe. I know he was a guy that they really liked. Also, like the quarterback position, like they wouldn't flat out outbid for that kid from Notre Dame. Like that was a kid that was going to Nebraska, and then they got him last minute. They were able to get in there and outbid him. So I think like this is something I've been saying for a lot, like going into the portal. You're going to see, I think, Ole Miss is a perfect example of it. Like there's a lot of pride for the Ole Miss side of it that's a little bit different than other situations because they want to win the breakup. They want to win like right out of the gates with, and they don't want this thing to stop. And you saw it in the postseason. They became like America's team. It was awesome to watch. I think everybody outside of maybe in Baton Rouge was like really pulling for them. I think that when you look at Kentucky and some of these other places where you have a new coach, it's an easier sell now to say, hey, listen, we can get this thing turned around very quickly. Look at what Indiana did. Like that will be the blueprint for a lot of these places. That's why you're seeing a lot of rosters kind of copy and pasted. Like we joked around about Penn State, Tennessee, South Florida to Auburn, and some of these other ones where it's like you can compete right away if you bring in the right guys. And I think Kentucky's in the middle of that right now because they have obviously got a little bit of breath of fresh air and are spending in the portal.
When we return, guys, I'll find out, ask each of you, which portal addition to your school are you most excited about? And we got to talk about the USF-Auburn pipeline. More Locked On SEC Squad coming your way next. All right, guys, thank you for making Locked On SEC or whichever show your first listen of the day. Thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. And if you haven't already, you need to become a member of our Everydayer Club. You can find out more information at lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer. You want to chat personally with Chris Marler, Stephen Willis, or John Miller, you can do that as part of our Everydayer Club. All right, fellas, we're going to get to who you think your best portal edition is so far, but I got to give Marler some credit for his graphic he created here. The Auburn logo with the USF logo, the bull, for both of the U's. I mean, it is crazy. Even as recent as this week, Auburn has added the center, Cole Best from USF, to snap the ball to Byron Brown, the USF quarterback, to throw the ball to USF receivers with the USF coach, Alex Golesh. I mean, we've never seen – I mean, we've seen it a little bit in pieces here and there, but – I don't think to this extent in the SEC. This is going to be wild to see if this works at Auburn.
I will say this about USF. They have one of the coolest wrought iron fences around their school that I've seen, and it's got that logo basically in the wrought iron. It's fantastic, but I don't know that will work in the SEC. I mean, I get the fact that Alex Golesh is probably pretty comfortable with those guys, but just because you beat Florida does not mean you are going to have success over a full SEC schedule with those same players. And I do think that he's probably going to learn that the hard way.
Well, they hung with Bama, 2 years in a row as well. So it's, it will be interesting. I mean, look, Byron Brown, if Golesh hadn't gone to Auburn, like if he had just hit the portal, everybody would have been after this guy. I mean, he's a true dual threat. That's an electric player. And so it
argued that Tennessee needed to anyway, but whatever.
Yeah. I mean, so I don't know. We'll see if it works out. I know most Auburn people I've talked to have been just like, they're very cautiously optimistic. You're like, I'm kind of excited. I don't really know what to feel. We'll see what happens. So.
Hey, the one thing's for sure is that the boosters aren't calling the shots. That's the one thing for this. So at least then everybody's saying they need to take their hands off of it and kind of let the coach succeed or fail on his own. That's going to happen.
That's my favorite part of this too, because this anybody that's been around the SEC for years knows that's exactly how Auburn has run their program for years and years and years. And it's like this, Knights at the Round Table or King Arthur's Court or whatever analogy you want to use of super boosters that think that they know more than the people coaching the players. And it's hilarious because it's like, it's not like y'all have gotten it right before. I mean, like this, you could argue the worst hire they made was the best coach they had because they got Gene Chizik when he was 5-19 as a head coach, and he won a national title in year 2. Now that was for some NIL reasons before the NIL started, but I will say this: I love what Golesh is doing because I think if you're sitting here, and I said this a while back, I think with you, Gordy, the players, anybody scoffing about like leaving Auburn and not wanting to play there, you're the ones that were on the field that went 5-7. Like Hugh Freeze is a bad coach, but like. Let's not get it twisted. That was a very talented roster, like a top 15 talented roster in the country. And they were mismanaged and very bad and bad from like at most of the season. I think what he's doing, again, I go back to what Cignetti did. Cignetti came from JMU and took 13 players from JMU immediately with him to Indiana. And it's a different league. And I think that's very fair. But like Cignetti, you saw in the second iteration of what he did in the portal, which was, all right, well, now we have a good base of our foundation, what we want. Let's go out and get an elite quarterback. Let's go out and get a couple pieces, which is definitely something you can do at Auburn with that booster base. But, I mean, 13 of their 24 players are from USF. I'm all for it because this is a team that hasn't had a winning record in 5 years. They haven't beaten Bama in 6 years. So if you were sitting here and looking down your nose as an Auburn fan at what he's doing, you're out of your mind. Like that is – it can't be worse than what you've currently had. I think it's a great move from Golesh.
Well, let's get into it real quick. Obviously, the portal will be closing very soon here.
Thank
Of course,
God.
it just means you have to put your name in. It doesn't mean you
Right.
have to choose a school. So, Stephen, we'll start with you. Give me the transfer portal edition so far you like most.
Yeah, everybody's going to assume that I'm going to deuce night, or I'm going to talk about all the safeties that Ole Miss brought in. Ole Miss got some really good signings on the defensive side. But I really like JT Lindsey and what he can do in that running back room. When you look at Ole Miss's running back room going into the fall, it is 4 4-star players. It's kind of what you think about of a blue blood type team of what they would do at the running back position. So I'm really excited to see what can happen with him and Shakai Mills-Knight, and then Kewan Lacey, the 16-yard rusher, coming back.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's whoever it is, it's the backup to Kewan Lacey.
Yes,
In a world. He is setting the world on fire again. John Miller, which Mizzou edition do you like most?
Well, Chris Marler just said, I believe it was Chris, right? Who just said it was a top 15 talented roster for Auburn last season. Well, Missouri's gotten 3 guys from Auburn this offseason. So I think Robert Woodyard Jr. is a pretty obvious one at linebacker. In fact, against Missouri last season, I think he had 14 tackles or something like that. So obviously Eli Drinkwitz was impressed with that. And Austin Simmons, the only reason I didn't pick him is he's more of an obvious choice at quarterback. But I'll just say this, whether Simmons works out or not, I'm just glad that Missouri got the guy that it targeted early in the process and didn't have to sort of dilly-dally around and take a second option. I think getting and securing the quarterback early in the process was obviously a good thing on multiple different levels, and I got to assume they got Simmons for a reasonable price just based on my intuition here.
Yeah, I like the 2 wide receiver additions, Horatio Sands and then Nashawn Montgomery.
Horatio
from
Fields,
Florida.
Horatio Sands of SNL.
Horatio
fans,
Sands.
I keep doing that. Same guy.
Chris Kattan
No,
is
too
also gonna have a spot in
sexy,
the
too
slot.
sexy.
Boat Trip, good movie, by the way. Chris Marler, give me your South Carolina edition you like most.
Who's had the worst offensive line in the country for three straight years?
Carolina.
They have allowed 40 or more sacks in 3 straight years. For whatever reason, a lot of those offensive linemen thought that the grass would be greener and leaving. And I look at the Auburn thing. It's like, y'all were the ones that were on the field. A few of them have followed, or at least one of them followed the offensive line coach that was fired, Lonnie Teasley, to Nebraska. So have fun not getting developed there. It's hands down Jacarrius Peak. I mean, again, he before Seton from Colorado entered, he was the number 1 ranked offensive tackle in the entire portal, a top 10 player. I think that is such a huge a feeling of confidence that you haven't had in a couple of years, where it's like you feel like the left side and especially the blind side is probably anchored at this point. And then you talk about also bringing in, Darius Gray, the 5-star left guard that they can, or interior offensive line, they'll probably start at left guard. I think that's been great too. But I think Peak, that is a guy that can step in right away, and you have at least one spot that is not a concern, and that is, thank God.
Yeah, just to kind of round this out, the top quarterback, or rather the top recruits in the I'll get it right, the portal guys, according to the 24/7 rankings, Sam Leavitt still sitting number 1, the Arizona State quarterback that just chose LSU. So that was going to be fascinating, just because with the Liz Frank injury, they're saying he may not be able to go much of the spring.
Wow.
And so when you talk about LSU's got 9 new receivers in that room, like, developing chemistry, if they got to wait till the summer, it's not that it can't be done. It's just going to take a little while, and might be. Remember, they open with Clemson at home, so they don't get a tune-up game to kind of get their feet.
The Pinstripe Bowl runner-up, Clemson Tigers. Jeez.
Yes.
Liz Frank, those 2 names, those, I know it's one word, but
My favorite
seriously, Liz
keeper.
Frank, that's a little scary to me. I got to be honest. That raises some red flags for me.
I will say it's interesting to not go through a transfer portal cycle where we already have 8 wide receivers. That is interesting.
The Cam Coleman is number 5. He chose Texas. We kind of mentioned that earlier. Were you guys surprised Cam Coleman picked Texas?
The
Not
least surprising
particularly.
thing that happened.
No.
That was, I mean, like, his asking price, at least at LSU, and I know it was like at LSU, it was $3.5 million. We were told that at Auburn it was like 3.3, and they had incentives go up to 4. And that there's a reason why his 3 visits in a row were Texas A&M, Texas Tech, and Texas. Because if that was the asking price, people are always either desperate enough or dumb enough to pay a certain amount. And maybe it's not dumb because he is a hell of a player. But at the same time, that's a kid. You're asking for $3.5 million for a kid that has less than 100 career catches and around 1,300 yards in 2 years. All the talent's there, and I think he'll flourish in Sark's offense. I do think it was also the best decision he could have made of those 3 of where he could have gone between A&M, Texas Tech, and Texas, especially with Klein going back to Kansas State as the OC from A&M.
One thing that's interesting there is he didn't take the Texas Tech tax, the Lubbock tax. I want to know what that number was and what they offered and what he took to go to Austin.
Yeah, I think my favorite story was it him or Sorsby was somehow they had flight delays to get out there, and I was like, "Oh, you've never flown to Lubbock before? It's not easy." So thought that was kind of funny. Look, they got all the money in the world to get people to come out there, but good luck getting mom and dad and aunt and uncle out to come see you play every week. It's not the easiest place to get to Lubbock, Texas. Chaz Coleman from Penn State to Tennessee. Eric touched on him earlier. He was number 6. Number 7 is intriguing. Damon Wilson, who was at Georgia, had the monster year at Mizzou, is back in the portal. As of this recording, he has not picked his new school yet, but here in Alabama is trying to make a big push to get him. Alabama, it's been a few years since they've had that big-time edge rusher. Damon Wilson, as John Miller could vouch, was outstanding last year, right?
Absolutely. No, he was, and really probably more impressive than what his final sack numbers would even tell you. He didn't play a ton of snaps for a number 1 guy, and you just look at his pressure rates and stuff. He's a real loss for Missouri for sure.
Just 2 other names I want to mention here because this is the top 10 players on the 24/7 list, and take this with a grain of salt. These are the guys at 24/7 ranking portal guys, so it kind of is what
Tough
it is.
Job.
But number 8, they had James Smith that just left Alabama to go to Ohio State. We know Quay Russaw left Alabama to go to Ohio State as well. And then number 10, they have Isaiah Horton, who just left Alabama to go to A&M. He's going to, I guess, replace Casey Concepcion there opposite Mario Craver. But were you guys surprised Alabama? I mean, we're just used to big, bad, tough Alabama. I'm not used to seeing guys leaving there and going to other schools. What
are you talking about? They lost 41 players last year. I'm
saying proven guys that you would think they would want to keep them and step up to the plate, right?
I'm sure they did. They were paying Isaiah Horton $700,000, and then for him to go somewhere else, I'm sure he probably got $1 million. I think that's the other part too. It's at some point there's a breaking point. Like if Kewan Lacey is 1.8 or $2.5 million, I'm fully on board with him being worth that in comparison to if Justice Haynes is getting $2 million at Tech.
Right.
I'm on board with Lacey getting more than that because he should be the highest paid back in the whole thing. But if you're James Smith and you're Alabama and you look at that defensive line, it wasn't like they were putting up a ton of sack numbers. It wasn't like they were great against the run. You saw them get torched against Georgia, torched against Indiana. So by all means, go get paid, young man. But at the same time, there has to be a breaking point. And I think the other thing I'll say for Bama is it's a concern they haven't been better in the portal. I think the roller coaster they've been on, they were 23rd on Saturday, 59th on Sunday, back up to 30-something the other part of the week. I mean, they also have signed a top 3 class out of high school for 2 years in a row. And the thing that everyone kept saying was not going to happen with Kalen DeBoer is, well, he's not going to be able to recruit the South. He's done that exceptionally well. Just pray they don't have to go have a bunch of 18-year-old 5-stars play up against 27-year-old men from Indiana ever again.
Yeah, to your point, I really like Isaiah Horton as a player, but he may be Alabama's number 3 receiver, 2 probably at best. I mean, Ryan Williams is certainly coming back. He's going to cost some money. So at a certain point, do I want to pay $1 million for my 3rd receiver, perhaps? Again, there's a breaking point there eventually.
Well, there's rumors that Bama's NIL for Williams is based off only per hand. So I think if he can get both hands involved in catching the ball, it'll be a lot better.
It'll be a big improvement.
Yeah. 2 questions on the way out before we wrap up, guys. Number 1, Miami, Indiana. Just go around the horn real quick. Give me who you got winning, Steven.
Give me Indiana. I'll take the Soviets to trump the U.S. team and the Miracle on Ice.
John Miller.
I like Indiana too, but I got to say I'm starting to talk myself into Miami having a real shot in this game after listen, they're going to be able to run the football. Carson Beck has played well. You got to like that Miami pass rush. I think I think after what we've seen the last couple weeks, I think maybe Miami's being a little bit underestimated just simply because of how good the Hoosiers have been.
Marlo, who you got?
Indiana is the best college football team of all time. They would light up 2019 LSU. Light them up, Gordy. I don't mean that, but I do think they're going to win. They don't make any mistakes, man. Like they just do all the things well. And I think that Carson Beck's been fine. He's been really good. I'm still shocked that they won that damn game against Ole Miss. It's like we were so close. Steven, you were so close, dude. my gosh. I don't mean to bring it up. Everyone was pulling for him. But I think, two great teams. I think also Indiana is just like, I mean, they have just been destroying people, just taking their will.
Can I just say,
I made the Miracle on Ice comparison in my pick. I'm serious about that. My Indiana does not make mistakes. They are a machine. They are full of like 27-year-old players going up against college kids. All of that is set up, and the game is going to be played in Miami. So it's like coming to Lake Placid. It is literally a Miracle on Ice situation.
Can I just say, if I watching that game and I was Ole Miss, and Miami got down near the goal line, I would have just let them go, let them score, because you knew if Trinidad had they got down to inside the 30 on the other side. Like if they had another 20 seconds, Ole Miss may
just had another play and a pass interference was called at the very end.
Steven, I tell you right now, I looked at Allie when I said it, and she goes, "Should that have been pass interference?" I go, "If I was held like that as a child, I wouldn't be like I am right now."
Yeah, child protective services. Yeah, would have been called. Yeah.
Last question, guys. We did hear from the coaches meeting earlier this week that a lot of the coaches want to push for a redshirt rule change to go from 4 games to 9 games around the horn. Are you on board with that? Does that make sense, Stephen?
Hey, nothing makes sense. TJ Finley is on his 7th university, and Trinidad Chambliss can't come back and play college football.
Right.
John, do you like it?
Again, just go 5 years at that point. 9 out of 12 games, you're already at 75%.
They're
of the
doing
year.
that because of lawsuit, right?
It seems like it's one of those things they're just slow playing it. It's been inevitable they're going to a 5th year for a couple years, as they're just slow playing it here, it seems like a guy with pocket aces or something.
I don't want to sound like my drunk uncle at Thanksgiving, but I mean, if you can just identify as whatever you want to be now, you can just go ahead and apparently be an 18th year. Dude, the Finley thing is so stupid because it's not stupid. I like that he's able to do it. It's a guy with 3 kids, so I'm happy that he can go get paid. I feel like that money's probably going to something good for his life. I don't think he's going to be playing professional football. But some of these guys, man, it is just like, what are we doing? And I just don't understand. Yeah, it's time to get a job. We had to do it. Go be miserable like the rest of us.
Well, I will say most of my friends, it took 5 years to graduate. So, unless you're taking summer classes and loading up on extra credit hours, I mean, it's hard to get in and out in 4 years. So give everybody 5.
Did you play 5 years of ultimate frisbee though, Gordy? Come on now. That's too many.
That's
too many for anybody.
Hey, 3 years of flag football and intramural softball. All right.
Yeah, Miami had a guy a couple years ago.
Not 5.
Like
that's my point.
Senior.
Not 5.
9 years, Steven.
Yeah.
He was there for 9 years.
Senior, a 9-year senior. I remember whenever a 6th-year senior was completely rare, and now you don't even think anything about that.
Look, I just want to see
how many degrees Stetson Bennett wouldn't have had in 9 years.
I just want to see all the BYU kids 30 and up. 30 years and older
oh my God.
on a BYU roster. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's get some gray in the beard.
It's grown Samoan.
That is going to do it for this edition of the Locked On SEC Squad. Remember, follow and subscribe to your favorite SEC Squad show. We'll be covering your favorite team throughout the offseason, and I'll have you covered with the entire conference on Locked On SEC. And a reminder to join our Everydayer Club if you haven't checked it out yet, lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer. For Stephen Willis, John Miller, Chris Marler, and Eric Kane, this has been the Locked On SEC Squad show. Talk to you guys next week.
Free Trinidad.
Hey, boys.
Bye-bye.